live? Going live? Are we live?
That's good.
Okay, we're live. We are live. So, pull this down. I forgot to get this ready. Pull that over. And then this is on the wrong thing. Boom. All right. Good to go. Good to go, doggo. All right, Tony D and Little Joan here. Hey, JEC, hi, is already in the chat. First. Oh, and Shadow of the Raven is here. All right, we're hitting the ground running. All right, give a minute or two for people to drift in here. Just not much going on with me. Just a quick update. It's a dead week for me. No shows. Didn't do any shows. New Year's Eve. Can't find a New Year's Eve comic book convention, unfortunately. And then this weekend, nothing going on either. But next weekend begins the long march to me trying to pay my bills. Little Joan got walkies, so we're all set today. I had all kinds of free time, so I got my trash put out, everything. Shadow says, my name is Carl, by the way. All right. Good to have you here, Carl. Thanks for tuning in. It was Carl's suggestion, by the way, for today's theme, which is going to be movie sequels and franchises. We're going to be talking about that. I've got some thoughts on it. I've got lists of good ones that I think are pretty good. We've got some lists on various websites to go over. But first, let's get some of the business out of the way. The box office for the weekend didn't look too awful for Avatar, surprisingly. Still did 45 million, which is down about a third. So, but still, it's not going to make $2 billion. It can't. It can't possibly make $2 billion. I don't see how it can. Overseas, it's still doing well, but we're at 1.19 international box office, so basically 1.2 probably by the end of Sunday. 1.2 billion plus 500 million puts us at 1.7 million. I don't think it's gonna make it. I mean, I think it'll come close. Yeah, 1.7 is the total right now. Arden is here. Hey, all. Hey, Arden. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I guess it could, but it would be strictly international. I mean, look at the international box office. It's over twice of the domestic. And, what's the name? China. China is the big bulk of this internationally. Here's the breakdown by country. So China's 180 million, which actually is probably kind of low for China when you think about it. They would have obliterated 2 billion had China been up and running as normal. JEC, they'll keep it in theaters another 2 months if they have to. Then I guess they might make it. I don't know. Other countries are different. France did almost 100 million. It seems high for France. South Korea, 75 million. They're big on movies. Germany. Who the hell can afford movies in Germany? 70 million. Stop buying movie tickets. Heat your house, Germany. International definitely saved it, JEC. Absolutely. UK, 50 million, 54. India, though, is only 50 million. All the people in India, it only did $50 million. That seems low for India. Mexico, 36 million. Australia, 34 million. Can't tell if that's low or not for Australia. Italy, 30 million. Spain, almost 30 million. Interesting. Oh, wow. They really break it down. Oh, it doesn't even look like it's opened in some places. opening weekend screens. Yeah. Some countries are just a big zero, like the Czech Republic. JC, of course the French would love Avatar. Why? Is Jerry Lewis in it? Lady, we're underwater. Um, Peru hasn't run it yet, so there's a handful of countries. United Arab Emirates haven't run it. Handful of countries. Saudi Arabia hasn't run it. I'm kind of surprised because it doesn't seem super woke from what I've heard. But that's, I don't know. Maybe it might make it. Maybe with the international box office. If they keep it in theaters and there's just nothing else out. But look at Megan. Megan premiered pretty good. I hear this movie only cost $12 million to make. That's what Yellow Flash said. I mean, if this movie only costs $12 million, that's money. That is instant money right there. First weekend. And this should do decently if word of mouth spreads. People are saying it's a decent flick. I don't know. It looks super creepy to me. And creepy in like a weird way, I'll say. Yeah. I don't know. Because they have this android of a little girl doll, or android of a little girl who becomes a little girl's friend, but then the android doll does sexy moves, and I don't know, it seems it's a wrong creepy vibe, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. People are saying it's good though, but Puss in Boots, 13 million. It's doing okay. I mean, although these movies tend to be expensive to make, but I don't know. What do you think? Like 100 million to make, 100 million to promote? I mean, it's about break even. It probably made money though. Probably. A Man Called Otto. I don't know about this movie. I mean, Tom Hanks used to be Money in the Bank back in the day. Now, Ardent, Netflix creepy? Yeah. Yeah. A little bit Netflix creepy. A Man Called Otto, like, it's almost unnecessary for this kind of movie because this is a American remake of a movie that was hot in one of the Nordic countries. I want to say Sweden, but I don't remember. So it was popular there. Like, now you can get movies like that on Netflix, and they tend to scoop up the good ones. So why not just bring it to Netflix at this point? Why not just bring it to American theaters and dub the damn thing? The only reason sometimes those kinds of movies do well is because they can count on that no one saw the original, right? Like, no one saw the original, and therefore they just remake it like it's a new movie and nobody really cares. But if people see the original movie and it kind of gets a wide distribution, then they're not going to remake it, generally speaking. But A Man Called Otto seemed like the wrong movie to remake. It just doesn't seem like very high stakes. Like if you could have remade that as a small indie movie, maybe, but it looks kind of, I don't know, it looks kind of Hollywood because Tom Hanks is in it, so it's not cheap. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever still lingering. What was the final on this? 825 million. Yeah, this is a pretty forgettable entry, I think. The Whitney Houston movie, phew, they had to have lost money on this. I mean, 41 million worldwide. That's better than it had been. I don't think it opened internationally for a while, but seems low. I mean, seems like they would have spent an ton of money just licensing the music. Maybe not. Maybe if the record company made it. I mean, it's made by Sony, so. The Whale, doing better. Still not in a lot of theaters. Still in outhouse level movies. I think they're waiting for the Oscars to hit. 8.5. Probably throw it an Oscar. Babylon. Bombalon. 13 million? Oof. Oof. This movie's a bomb. This is a tax write-off. Tax write-off the movie. Carl says, I've heard it's okay, but nothing to shout about. The Whale? I mean, it looks sad. It looks really sad. I still kind of want to see Babylon, if only to watch Margot Robbie dance around in skimpy outfits. Ardent, wanting to see the Renfield personally. Yeah, that looks good. That looks like it's fun. It looks like a real comedy. Finally. Finally. And, I mean, how many years has it been since Vampires Kiss? And now, finally, finally Nick Cage is going to play Dracula. Oh, boy. It looks good. Yeah, I did like that trailer. Violent Night still lingering. I don't know. It didn't look like my kind of movie. I mean, Bad Santa I like. This just seems stupid. The Menu. Someone I know on Twitter posted about this. Said it's about. I didn't realize what it was about. I thought people got eaten in it, but I wasn't sure. But apparently the men get eaten in the movie, but not the women. Yeah, they're like, what? Did anybody see this thing? The Menu? I don't know. My friend saw The Fabelmans, said it was fabulous. Now, he's my age, so I don't know. And he's a movie guy, so maybe he connected more with the movie stuff. It looks kind of sappy to me. But, man, it's not doing well. It can't be a cheap movie. It cannot be. There's no way. 15 million? Did that even cover Steven Spielberg's lunches on a movie like that? It looks very expensive. Carl says, I saw The Menu. It's okay-ish. Okay. Corsage. I don't know that one. That looks newish. Strange World. Still hanging in there. But, I mean, 66 million. That's. It didn't lose as much as Babylon, I'll say that. Oh, Black Queen is in. Yo, Black Queen. Women Talking. The movie no man ever wants to see. Hey, honey, you want to go see Women Talking? No. Black Queen, I am vacationing in Hawaii. Oh, well, good for you. How's the weather there? Must be nice. Wow, look at the drop off on Women Talking. Look at this. I mean, it wasn't making a lot of money, but it then boom, and then comes back. That's weird. Carl says, nice. JC, 66 million is embarrassing. 66 million for the which one was it? The Menu. The Menu? No. Strange World, I think you meant, right? Yeah, that is embarrassing for that. Black Queen, Woman Talking is very bad title from it. Yes, I can't think of a title that would turn off men more. It's always sunny in Hawaii, says Black Queen. That's true. Yeah, what would be a worse title for men than Women Talking? I can't think of one. Your wife yells at you for 2 hours. How about that? JC Strange Worlds. Ah, yeah, I thought so. And then all these other ones. Banshees of Inisherin, which I'm still rooting for. 22 million. Probably not money. It's good, though. I thought it was good. I saw The Pale Blue Eye. Black Queen says, I watched The Menu. It's okay. Movie. 8.55 out of 10. Okay. That's pretty high. That's a pretty high recommendation. JEC, Castration, the movie. Okay, yeah, that would probably be men get their balls stomped on for 90 minutes. That would be probably bad. Although that could be funny. If it was a comedy, maybe. There was a YouTube show. Oh, what the hell was it called? I think it was just called Kicked in the Balls. Carl laughing. There was a guy in a red wig, and he would just go up to people. It was like it was supposed to be like Candid Camera, and the gag was he'd go up to random people and kick them in the nuts. Oh, it was kicked in the nuts. So he kicks them, and then he'd go down there like screaming, "Oh, I'll kill you, you bastard! Oh!" And he goes, "Wait a minute!" And he points to the camera and goes, "You've been kicked in the nuts." And then they start laughing. So like the idea was, oh, it's Candid Camera, so it's okay to abuse me. And they did like 3 or 4 episodes. It was pretty funny. And then a Family Guy did a parody. JC, I think that was called Jackass. Yes. Carl says, not me. All right. So that's the numbers for today. Pretty much Avatar continues to do better than I thought it would. I think it's because it probably came out a slightly better movie than anybody anticipated. I really thought it would be just dreadful. It turns out it's like, sounds pretty watchable except for the middle. I mean, it's 3 hours. I can't sit through that. Not anymore. I mean, once in a while I sit through a long movie, but geez, now these days I check the time. If you're under 2 hours, I'm probably in. If you're over 2 hours, that's when I start to go, start the reassessment. Ardent says, how many times did that guy get punched in the head, I wonder? I don't know. Bleach Demon is here. Women yammering and won't stop. It's another movie that needs to be less than 90 minutes long. I just can't. 3 hours, man. I sat through, I remember, Dances with Wolves. And I made the mistake of buying like a bucket of soda. And it was one of those things where I'm watching a movie and I'm just drinking and drinking and drinking and watching and drinking. And then, about, 15 minutes before the ending, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm gonna miss things. And I had to run to the bathroom. Otherwise I was gonna pee myself. Black Queen, more like women knocking. Women knocking. Okay. Ardent, hail the bleachiest of demons. Women knocking. I thought you were making like a Venom joke. So let's get into some sequels. And that's the theme. Again, thank you, Carl, for the suggestion. Bleach Demon, hail and hearty to you, says to Ardent. So I'll start with this first list. The worst list. The Rotten Tomatoes list, which, as always, makes 0 sense. It makes absolutely no sense what the top... These are the sequels, keep in mind. Black Queen, you had watched The Women King. Oh, The Woman King. That's right. So here's what's number one. This is sequels, keep in mind, on Rotten Tomatoes. Paddington 2, which I'm sure is fine, but why would you put that on the top of your list? Why would that be on the top of the list? And no, the scores have nothing to do with anything on this list that I could tell. Paddington 2, I'm sure it's fine. I wasn't even a movie I thought of. I didn't even know it had a sequel. I'm not, 10 years old, so I didn't go see Paddington. Number 2, Toy Story 2. Sure. This is a really good movie, I think. Belongs on the list. I don't think it's the top one, but I think most people like the Toy Story movies, right? I mean, they're pretty good. From a writing standpoint, I think they're good. So that one's an acceptable one. I mean, it's a little high on the list at number 2, but okay. It belongs on the list, you'd say. The next one, I haven't even heard of this movie. 3 Colors Red. I don't know what this movie is. and it had a sequel. I guess. I don't know. Number 4, Goldfinger, which is a pretty great movie. In terms of sequels, I think Bond is kind of in a separate category on its own, but I do love me some Goldfinger. It's probably my favorite Bond. Yeah, it's got the best line ever. JC says, I think you got to switch the chat setting. Oh, did I screw it up? I got it on live chat. Live chat, right? Heard of it, didn't see it, says Carl. If you haven't seen Goldfinger, I think that is a worthy one for the list. Great Bond, great ending. So, then Toy Story 3, well, I get why you put it on the list, but probably should just put, like, you know, it's basically in the same category as 2, right? I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty good. I think this is the one where Andy gives away the toys, right? JC, You Only Live Twice is my favorite Bond. Yeah, I know. They're so good. And then, and I heard of Richard Linklater, but I've never heard of Before Midnight. I guess I didn't see this. This is like a trilogy. It's called Before Trilogy. I mean, it's got Ethan Hawke in it. I'm sure it's good. Ardent Parody, Red 2, Willis was a good sequel. Was it? And now down at number 7 is the one that I think should be probably the top in most people's list. If you're a real cinemaphile, is Godfather Part 2. It's an amazing movie. It's an amazing movie. I mean, the first Godfather, and you might say, you're just old. Carl liked Red 1 better. Godfather 1, an amazing movie. Godfather 2 is better. I mean, I really think it adds, you know? And that to me is the bar there. When a sequel really adds something. Godfather 2 really adds something. It's not just like, let's check in on Michael and he's doing the same damn thing. It like really adds to the story. And it's like kind of a different movie on its own. It really is. He's doing interesting things. That final shot, friggin' phenomenal. Bleach Demon. Great, now Goldfinger is stuck in my head, but I always like From Russia with Love, mostly because of Daniela Bianchi. Yeah, that's another great one, Bleach Demon. JC, Godfather 2 is great. No Brando, but you get De Niro. Yeah. Carl, Godfather is good, yeah. JC, Godfather 2, Terminator 2, and Gremlins 2. I forgot about Gremlins. Yeah, Gremlins 2 is really good. But number 7 seems low for this. This should be in the top 3, at least. And then number 8, a movie that, before I looked at any list, this was like the second movie I thought of when it comes to great sequels. And if you haven't seen it, it's super old, but it is genius, is Bride of Frankenstein. This movie, I think, was ahead of its time in terms of a sequel, because it just, it just picks up kind of from the first movie, and the bride really adds something. It's really freaky at the end. The last scenes of this movie are actually kind of scary. For 1935, they're absolutely terrifying. I mean, I saw this as a kid, probably like in the late 70s, early 80s on TV, and it terrified me. And I'm like never scared of anything. JC, oh yeah, Bride of Frankenstein is the best Universal monster movie, hands down. It really is. It really is. It blows away all the other Frankenstein movies. It really does. The ones after that, I mean, I like the other ones after that just because of how they have the continuity and everything, including Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman. Is that what it's called? It's called something like that. Carl asked, the black and white one? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. OG, black and white, Bride of Frankenstein, if you haven't seen it. Ardent Party, best sequel ever, Lethal Weapon 2. I love Lethal Weapon. I celebrate the entire franchise of Lethal Weapon. I don't know if 2's the best one. I really do like 1. I do like 2, though. But it's kind of the same movie. But that being said, I like them all for the most part. And towards the end, the Joe Pesci ones get annoying. But I'm a huge fan of Lethal Weapon because I love Shane Black, one of my screenwriting heroes. Shane wrote the original Lethal Weapon. I think he wrote 2. And then I think after that he starts to get phased out of it. Carl says, only like the first Lethal Weapon. I can understand that. I mean, it does get old after a while. And to some, again, in some respects, they're kind of all the same. But JC, Son of Frankenstein is fun. Ghost of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula are all trash. You know, when they did the Mummy movie with Tom Cruise, or when they first announced it, one of the things I thought would happen, because, you know, Tom Cruise, Mr. I'm going to do whatever movie stars did in the past, only I'm going to do it better. I really thought Tom Cruise was going to play the Mummy, and then I thought, because I had read all about Boris Karloff playing the Mummy, and he basically put on the makeup, and then they built an oven for him to stand in, so his makeup would get nice and dried out, and he'd look all dried out for the cameras. And I thought, I wonder if Tom Cruise is going to do that. And then he wasn't the Mummy. Ardent, I love Predator 2 more personally, so it might be a weirdo. I love me some Predator 2. I think it's better. I think it's better than the first one. Ardent also says, Stormy says she loves Rush Hour 2. They're kind of all the same, but I can understand that. I mean, I think they're good. I find them enjoyable. Carl, Riggs becomes a parody of himself in the sequels. Yeah, but like in 2, it's not quite parody yet. You can see the beginnings of it. It does start to unravel, especially with the villain, the explanation of the villain, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah. And Toy Story 4, yeah, by 4, I guess this is the one where Andy gets rid of him, or just the one after. This is the one that ends with they almost get all burned up. I mean, this one's pretty good. It was surprisingly good, quite frankly. But for a 4th installment, I thought if you had to rate these and adjust them according to, you know, how far you had gone from the original, this is surprisingly high quality, but it's like, I don't know if it deserves to be in a top 10. JC, Lethal Weapon all blends together for me, but they're all fun. Yeah, that's kind of the way it is for me. It's like initially the first one, I love it, and then I kind of remember the second one, and then everything after that's a blur. With Joe Pesci chewing the scenery. JC, 3 is the one they get burned up. I have only seen the first 2. Oh, okay. So I forget the 4th. I don't know. I think that's when they all get a new home. Or maybe that was the 3rd one. I don't know. And then you got the Mission Impossible movies at 10. Fallout. Did I see this one? I don't think I saw this one. I hated the first one of this. I hated it. Thought it was dumb, stupid. And I hated the train scene. But then I watched the one directed by the guy who did The Incredibles, and I thought that was pretty decent, I guess. But I don't know. It's not the greatest of franchises in my view. I think Tom Cruise could have thrown what's his face, the original Mission Impossible guy, a bone, given him a cameo or something. And then, see, this is what I mean about Rotten Tomatoes. Then they put Mad Max Fury Road on the list, which in my mind is kind of like almost a reboot. And it's kind of like Mad Max as second fiddle in his own movie. So I don't even know if I count this one as a Mad Max movie. It's kind of like a spin-off almost, really. And then they're doing Furiosa for some odd reason. It's like, oh, you had to feminize Mad Max just because Charlize Theron won't do a second Atomic Blonde or something? I don't know. I'm sure you could have made a, you know, I don't know why you just can't do Mad Max. I mean, it was a good series. And Tom Hardy is just awesome. And then one of my favorites, probably deserves to be higher on the list at 12, Aliens, the sequel. And that's an interesting entry because Aliens, the second movie, is way different from the first movie in terms of the kind of thing it is. JC, I had no idea what was happening in the first Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible 2 was one of the worst pieces of S I've ever seen. After that, I'm done. Yeah, I don't blame you. That first movie's unwatchable. I didn't see the second movie. I think it's like the fourth movie I saw. Bleach Demon, how the Hades is Fury Road considered better than Road Warrior? Yeah, exactly. Sure, equal to Thunderdome, but that's like saying a head injury is equal to a nice dinner. Yeah, totally 100% agree with you. Road Warrior is top of the charts for Mad Max. It's got a great ending. It's all about the ending a lot of times. Thunderdome is kind of like, it's like the mainstream Mad Max. That's when it gets to be a little too Hollywood, and like Tina Turner being in it is just weird. But yeah, Fury Road is just like, meh. It's not even a Mad Max movie, really. Ardent from Marvel, Captain America 2 Winter Soldier was probably the best sequel of the lot. Yes. It's either that or Civil War. I prefer Civil War mostly, but Winter Soldier is fantastic. JC, Road Warrior needs to be on the list of best sequels. Absolutely. We got other lists, so I'm going to move on. Carl, the Shane Black movies I like are Predator, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, yes. And The Nice Guys with Aliens. Yeah, Aliens is good. Yeah, The Nice Guys is a very underrated movie. Didn't do well, I don't think, but was good. Was good. Everything about it was good. And Carl says, yeah, Mad Max 2. All right, let's move on to a better list because F Rotten Tomatoes. This is some Wikipedia list. Now, the only reason I go to Wikipedia is they've got some interesting groupings here. So this is relative improvement of some of the sequels. And then they've got absolute improvement. And then highest grossing sequels. So the highest grossing sequel, JC, you got to give it to Road Warrior. Fury Road was great in the theater. More you think about it, the lamer it gets. Was smart about going woke, hit it well, was ahead of the curve. Yeah, it's just okay. You know, it has a lot of potential, but you know, again, Mad Max kind of second banana in his own movie, and that's annoying. I hate when they do that. Mad Max is not the main character. It's really an ensemble cast. It's not all Furiosa, but you know, it's like I wanted to see Mad Max. Carl didn't like Fury Road. I can't blame you. I mean, the other ones are so much better. But Avengers Endgame, highest grossing. Star Wars The Force Awakens is number 2. Ugh. Which tells you why they keep making the damn Star Wars movies. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War. JC, the production design and editing was great. On, which one? On, Road Warrior or Fury Road? I'm going to guess you were thinking of Fury Road, because it did have a good look. I mean, the villain in Fury Road is pretty awesome looking. Number 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. Ardent, boo. Which one are you booing? Star Wars? Spider-Man No Way Home. It was a beast. JC, Empire Strikes Back needs to be on that list. Duh. Yep. Ardent, Force Awakens was such a waste. Yeah. Yep. I believe it. Number 5, Jurassic World. This is just straight up numbers. Jurassic World, look, I don't like the original Jurassic Park. I think it sucks. I think it absolutely sucks. And it continued to suck throughout its franchise. If I had to pick a franchise that's for dollar the worst, it's Jurassic Park everything. F Jurassic Park. I would reboot the entire thing, and it would be nothing but guys fighting dinosaurs for 90 minutes. Fast and Furious 7. Furious 7 is number 6 with 1.5 billion. Carl says, didn't hate The Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi was awful. Number 7, Top Gun Maverick. That's a sequel. That is a sequel. Definitely exceeds the first. Thought it did more than 1.4 billion, but there it is. Frozen 2, 1.4 billion. Forgot about that movie. God, kids love Frozen. I don't know why. I guess it's the music. And 9, Avengers Age of Ultron. You see all these Avengers movies, and you gotta wonder, why wouldn't Hollywood go, we're never doing anything but Avengers movies ever again? Like, why wouldn't you do Avengers movies? Why would you let Chris Evans go? Why would you let all these people go? Why wouldn't you like re-sign these guys for 15 more movies? Why would you kill Tony Stark? Doesn't make any sense. When you've got, out of the top 10 movies, 3 of them are Avengers movies. And we don't have an Avengers movie. It's ridiculous. Ardent, I'm being harassed to mention John Wick 2. John Wick, look, I love John Wick. I enjoy the movies. The first one I think is the best. The rest are kind of all the same, but I like them. But they're kind of all the same. Yes, they add the Continental, but so what? It doesn't really add all that much. It's just kind of an excuse to shoot people. Nothing's better than that first movie, because he's killing these guys because they shot his precious, precious dog. And I can totally relate to that, so I'm prejudiced. Right, Joan? Joan loves John Wick 1. JEC, Frozen has girly princess stuff and a couple of tunes people like. Yeah. It's probably what, the Barbie crowd, So, Avengers number 9, Age of Ultron, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Again, why we keep getting Jedi crap, Star Wars crap, they just won't let it go. And number 11, Harry Potter finally hits the list. And the Deathly Hallows Part 2 did the best out of all the Harry Potter. Then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The Incredibles 2, that's a good sequel. I like that. I don't know if it's better than the first, but it's good. The Fate of the Furious. JC, I've never gotten into John Wick. First one's kind of silly, and all the sequels are just the same movie over and over again. Yeah, that's what I can kind of think. Ardent, TL Junk. Not sure what you mean by that. And then the rest of the list of Fast and Furious and MCU movies. And then 20 on the list is the first Bond movie, Skyfall. And 19, The Return of the King, the only Lord of the Rings one. And 18, Transformers Dark of the Moon is on here. And another Transformer at 21. Then The Dark Knight Rises at 22, which is a good movie. I do love that movie. That's the one with Heath Ledger, right? Or is that the one after? Is that the last one? Maybe I'm thinking of the last one. Bleach Demon. The Last Jed is possibly the worst movie ever made, surpassing The Room. Oh, hi, franchise. Oh, hi, franchise. Carl, LOL. And then you got Toy Story 4, Toy Story 3, Rise of Skywalker. Ugh. Ugh. This money list depresses me. Just depresses me. Alright, and then Vulture had a list. This one wasn't bad. List-wide. Let's start with the first. But I don't understand the first one. You're going to put Mad Max Fury Road on the top of your list, Vulture? That's embarrassing. That's an embarrassing choice. It's just plain out embarrassing. When did this list come out? 2015? That is an embarrassing choice, doggy. You would have picked a better movie than that. And you're a dog. Ardent, I did not force her. I did not. Alright. Joan's going away. Alright, Joan, be good. But Vulture's, the rest of the list kind of is better. Godfather at number 2. Godfather 2 at number 2. But then Through the Olive Trees, I don't know what the hell this is. Army of Darkness, says Ardent, in caps. Yes. Yes, we're getting to that. Creed, which I guess counts as a sequel. I mean, it's kind of its own thing, but yeah. It is good, but where's Rocky 2? Where's Rocky 2? You're going to put Creed before Rocky 2? No. Aliens, okay. Bride of Frankenstein, okay. Blade 2, which is pretty good. I don't know if I'd put it this high on the list, but 35 and up, I have no idea what that is. Three Colors Red, I guess I got to see that movie. And Babe, Pig in the City. Again, from George Miller. How did George Miller get on this list twice? Somebody loves George Miller. JC, I mean, I might put Fury Road at number 1 for best reboot. I wouldn't even give it that, because to me, like, if you're going to reboot Mad Max, you'd be planning to do 3 movies, and they're not even doing that. Carl, haven't seen Creed. It's pretty good. It's not as good as Rocky. I mean, it's a boxing movie. At this point, they're all kind of the same. But it's not bad. One Creed movie would have been enough, but now they're on their 3rd. JC, Blade 2 is better than Blade 1. Basic plot, very fun, great production. Ardent, Blade Trinity, better than Blade 2. I mean, I like them all. It's hard to distinguish them, I would have to see them all again. I mean, to really do the research, I would have had to watch movies for like 4 days straight to remember everything. They all kind of blend together in some respects. I mean, they are good. I do like them. What did they do? 4 blades? Do 3 or 4 blades? I think they did 4, right? I think it's the 4th one that starts to go, I don't know why they're bothering to recast Blade. If you were going to do a Blade movie, I think the first thing they should have done was call Wesley Snipes and say, put on your outfit, we're doing it again. Would have been great to see him brought into the MCU. I think he could still do it. I do. He looks great. He's a little skinnier than he was, but Blade Trinity is garbage, says JEC. Rambo 3, ha 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 ha, says Ardent. JC, Blade 2, best Blade. JC, the Disney Blade coming out is the 4th one? Yeah, I don't think it's coming out anytime soon. I don't think they should have recast. One of the most brilliant things if you watch What We Do in the Shadows, when they had a Wesley Snipes appearance as Blade, that was brilliant. Ardent, Blade Trinity was basically an extra long audition for Deadpool? Man, kind of hard to remember. But I do like me some Blade. Oh, did I mess up? Yeah, I think I messed up my... I have my list here. Okay, greatest sequels of all time from IMDb. This one is probably the best of the list for me. Bleach Demon. Another beef about Fury Road. They had Hugh Keyes Byrne back from the original. Such squandered potential of a plot line between the two movies. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of things squandered in that. I mean, they could have had Mel Gibson back. You know? They could have had him do a cameo or made him like, you know, not Max, but somebody else. Something. I mean, there's lots of people they could have, I'm sure, could have had back. But I don't know. The whole movie is like, it's okay, but it doesn't even feel like Mad Max. At a certain point, it's just like, oh, we own the IP, so we have to use it. It's not like we want to pay a guy like Tony DiGerolamo to come up with a brand new dystopian future character. That would be awesome. God forbid. God forbid we have new movies with new characters, even though they introduced Furiosa. I mean, I would have had more respect for them if they just said, no, we're not doing Mad Max, but we're doing a movie kind of like it called Furiosa. That would have been fine, right? Because then you'd be like, oh, it's a new movie. You could ignore whatever. You wouldn't even have to worry about the continuity. You'd just make a new one. Carl, Fury Road is all style over substance. Yeah, mostly. I mean, I did like Nicholas Holton. Holt or Hootler. I don't know how to say his name. I thought he was good in it as the, what's the name, the crazy guy with all the white makeup. He was kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, I think you got a point, definitely. All right, so the IMDb list. Man, people hate Fury Road, eh? The IMDb list starts with Godfather 2, and that's a respectable start. And then, second movie, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Yeah, that's a good movie. And this is part of the Dollars trilogy. It's a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And then there's some more. There's some more after that. I mean, technically, you know, you've got Clint Eastwood as the man with no name, and was it Pale Rider? He's the man with no name again. All good movies if you've never seen them. I mean, you kind of gotta like westerns, and it's the time or whatever. But yeah. Then they go right down the tubes by putting Star Wars Episode 4, The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, no, that's one I put on the list. I thought they were going to put the other Star Wars movie. No, this is, yeah, Empire Strikes Back deserves to be on the list. And this is about where I'd put it, like number 3 or 4. Then Toy Story 2. Then Aliens 2. Then Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I don't know if I'd put it this high. Carl, a few dollars more is my fave, but all good. Ardent, God, I wish they had made a sequel to Josie Wales. Yeah, can't do it now. He's way too old. Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade is a good movie. I mean, out of the first 3, the only 3 I acknowledge. No, the first one's still the best, but I don't know. That one's pretty good. That would be the second best, I guess. The best sequel. Return of the Jedi at 7. It's pretty good. I don't know if I'd put it this high. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. That deserves to be a little higher. Deserves to be above Return of the Jedi. That's an awesome sequel. Terminator 2, also an awesome sequel. And a few dollars more. Also on the list. Again, I don't really count it. They should just group them all together. Spider-Man 2. This is Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man is really good. Road Warrior. There it is. Probably higher on the list, but yeah. Superman 2. Yes. Yes, Superman 2. Definitely needs to be on the list. Here's The Bride of Frankenstein. So this is the best list of sequels, I think. French Connection 2. First one's great. This one's pretty good. Magnum Force. Dirty Harry. Tons of sequels there. Not all good. Star Trek First Contact. It's good. I don't know if I'd put it up here at 17 in the top 20, but X-Men 2. X-Men United. Nah, it's okay. It's pretty good. I mean, Carl, the Donner cut, yeah. Die Hard 2. I do love me some Die Hard 2. That's the airport one. That does stick out in my mind. Um, and I think it's marginally better than the first one. They're kind of all the same, really. But I think the second one is marginally better. And then, the third one, it starts to get far away from what it was initially. Ardent, the only thing the second X-Men movie had going for it was the opening sequence with Nightcrawler. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I like it. The best one, I think, which is the one where that's got Nixon in it. I like that one. That's not this one. That's the other one. That's the other. That's isn't that the one with Fassbender as Magneto? Yeah, that's the one I like. Lethal Weapon 2. There you go. And this one, I never heard of this one. Manon of the Spring. Don't know that one. 22 is Evil Dead 2, which is a real big jump up in quality in the Evil Dead series, right? I mean, the first Evil Dead is rough. It's not, well, it's kind of in a different class of movie because it's Sam Raimi and a shoestring budget trying to cobble something together. And then Evil Dead 2 is like a real movie, and then it's like, oh wow, Bruce Campbell has been unleashed. He has been unleashed. And then as I was going through this list, I couldn't believe I forgot, but the Pink Panther movie is A Shot in the Dark, the first one, which is really a sequel. And well, it's not the first one, but it's the first Blake Edwards one, I think. I think this is the first one that focuses on Clouseau. I think the other one focuses on the Pink Panther. But God, I used to love the Pink Panther movies. If you haven't seen them, I think they are very funny. They're old though, so you gotta. The pacing is a lot different for comedy back then. A lot slower. Bleach Demon. Finally, some Peter Sellers on the list. Yeah, exactly. He was so good. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I like the vacation movies. At the end of the day, it's 1 in 3. European is kind of weak, but it's okay. Carl says Bruce Campbell is great in Bubba Hotep. He certainly is. There was rumors there was going to be a sequel to that too. I forget what it was going to be called though. And here's a sequel. This is a sequel. The Color of Money, which is a sequel to The Hustler, starring Paul Newman. And this is a very Top Gun type situation where they made a sequel 30 years later. Fantastic if you haven't seen it. Ardent, wasn't there a sequel to Dirty Rotten Scoundrels? I think there might have been. I like the first one. That does sound familiar. I'm not sure who was in it, though. Rocky 2. I mean, deserves to be on the list. I mean, I know people are sick of Rocky now, but Rocky 2, it's really not the best one when you think about it. The best one is probably the first one, which is Ardent Color Money was great. It really is. It's really, if you haven't seen it, it's so awesome. But Rocky 2 is the first movie is this great Oscar-winning thing that's it's great. Then the second one is basically a fan movie for the fans of the first one who are like, oh no, Rocky lost. All right, don't worry, we'll give you a second movie where he wins. Yay! That's all really Rocky 2 is, but it is a good movie. And then Rocky 3 is where it gets into it starts to be different. It doesn't quite become parody until Rocky 4, but even then it's it's so cool. At least it was for me. I enjoy the Rocky movies up to about 4, and then it starts to get He's back again? The Four Musketeers, Milady's Revenge. This is the old school Musketeers. They're making this movie again, by the way. Redoing a whole franchise again. Ardent, I still say DiCaprio... the DiCaprio Man in Iron Mask was a sequel to the Disney Sutherland Sheen Three Musketeers. Maybe. Pink Panther Strikes Again. Classic. Conquest of Planet of the Apes. No. I don't think this one deserves to be on the list. It's not good. I mean, the first Planet of the Apes is brilliant. Everything after that is like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you subject us to this? Now later, when they revamped the whole thing again, the Mark Wahlberg one's unwatchable. Unwatchable. And then the second one with James Franco is... I mean, it's way better than the first one. It's kind of like a low bar. And then the ones after that, I mean, they're... To me, they're just carnival rides. It's the first one or nothing for me. I mean, me and my friends used to binge watch these back in the day. A friend of mine got like a Criterion box or something. And one year we watched them on New Year's, and then at midnight, through no fault of our own, just popping it in there. At exactly midnight, Charlton Heston went, "No, you maniacs, you blew it up. Happy New Year." It was great. Yeah, I mean, the Planet of the Apes movies after the first one are just, they're just ridiculous. I think. They're hilarious, but they're ridiculous. And it was all because I read that Charlton Heston, who is in the second one, didn't want any more Planet of the Apes. So he wrote in his contract that something like, in that movie, everyone dies, basically, in Planet of the Apes, the second one. And so then after they made that movie, it was still so popular, they decided, okay, we can't make a sequel, but we can make these prequels. And that's why they end up going back in time to show you how, like, the apes rise up. Carl, I agree about Planet of the Apes. Ardent. Oh, Leonard Part 6, Lamo. Yeah, that technically wasn't a Part 2 of anything or Part 6 of anything. Yeah, that movie, oof, brutal. Mission Impossible 2. After The Thin Man, that was that's way before my time, the Thin Man movies. But these were hot movies back in the 30s. And Road to Morocco, the Bing Crosby, Bob Hope movies, even they're too old for me. I used to see them on TV. You know, this is like 1940s buddy movie, essentially. And it would have comedy, and Bing Crosby would sing, and Bob Hope would get the girl, and it was, it's what the Family Guy would do as a parody with Stewie and Brian, for those of you who don't know. But they were good for their time. I don't think they really hold up, though. They were kind of like topical comedy-wise, and they're kind of like boring for the singing parts, and you know, so they kind of don't hold up. Thin Man, God, I can't even remember. They're like mysteries, kind of. I don't remember totally what they were about, but you know, I don't fault them for putting them on the list because they were insanely popular in their heyday. And finally, if you want a laugh, let's look at the Screen Rant list of sequels, which wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Where is it? Okay, so starts at Godfather 2. Yeah, okay. Empire Strikes Back. Okay. Acceptable. Aliens 3. Acceptable. The Dark Knight. Yes, that's the one with Heath. Yeah, that is really good. I mean, I don't know if I'd put it at 4, but on the list, Terminator 2. Yeah, okay. Before Sunset. I don't know these movies either. I don't know, just because sort of I'm reading the list and then this comes out and I'm like, what? Bleach Demon. The road movies are kind of fun for exploration of the past, but the Thin Man movies do hold up better than expected. Oh, okay. Ardent. I like the old Sinbad series of movies. Oh, yeah, I forgot about them. As I was doing this, man, there's just so many movies I forgot about. Spider-Man 2. I don't know if it's in the top 10. It's pretty good. Toy Story 2. Yeah, maybe. X-Men 2 shouldn't be in the top 10, but could be on the list, I guess. Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan, yeah. It's really good. Mad Max 2, yeah. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, yeah. Superman 2, yeah. The Bourne Supremacy, no. No. This is the one where they shoot his girlfriend, right? Isn't this the one that opens with him shooting the girl that he spent the whole first movie saving? It's kind of like the opening of Aliens 3. Oh, all those people she saved, they're dead. Hollywood Ate My Baby is here. Would you call Dawn of the Dead a sequel? Yes, I would. Yes, I would indeed. And it is a good one. And it is on my list, which I'll be doing in a moment. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. No, I don't think this should be on the list at all. I mean, it's okay. I don't even remember it. I mean, I barely remember it. I mean, I remember it being decent at the time. Raid 2 probably should be on the list if you're doing an international list. It is a friggin' crazy movie. I don't know if I saw the Raid or the Raid 2. I think I saw the Raid 2. It is phenomenal. Batman Returns, no, I hate this movie. I really don't like Tim Burton Batman. I mean, it's watchable, but, you know, no. No, it's not Batman. It's barely Batman. The Color of Money, yes. 28 Weeks Later, no. 28 weeks, 28 days. It's not great. Carl got bored with the Bourne films. Yeah, the first one's great, but after that, it's like, bleh. Bleach Demon, how is Hellboy on this list? Yeah, exactly. Ardent, Wrath of Khan was at least as good as Empire Strikes Back. Yes. Dawn of the Dead, okay. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, nah. Captain America, Winter Soldier, yes. You can put that on there. Hunger Games, I wouldn't put the Hunger Games on any list other than movies that kind of bore me. But I understand why they would pick it. Lethal Weapon 2 and Evil Dead 2. So it's a weird list, right? It's like you wonder where these guys' heads are at when they pick stuff. I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. To be fair, Golden Army was better than the newest Hellboy. Yes, it's not. I mean, the Ron Perlman Hellboys are pretty good Hellboys. Pretty good. I didn't see the most recent one. It just didn't really interest me, and I don't know. I heard bad things. But it's like Hellboy, I like the concept, but it's kind of overblown at the end of the day because in the world of comics, that character would have been one of the many characters in the mix, but he probably wouldn't even been, in his own comic all that long before people got sick of him. Carl, not seeing any Hunger Games. Yeah, it was on this list, but I don't think it's very good. I don't think the Hunger Games is a great concept. It feels very derivative, and I don't know. It's not my book. It's not my book, so I'm like, meh. Hunger Games. People, it's overblown. Like Harry Potter, I understand. Harry Potter, I could see how that could capture the imagination of the fans, and they love it. And I'm not a Harry Potter nut at all. I think it's okay, but I can understand why they rave about it. I can understand why they rave about Frozen. I can't understand why they rave about Hunger Games at all. It's okay. It's like mildly, intolerable because Jennifer Lawrence is in it, and that's about it. If Jennifer Lawrence wasn't in it, I don't think I would have went to go see the damn thing. Ardent, best thing about Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 was that it was finally over. Yeah, that wasn't even on my list. Yeah, it's not good. All right, so I made some lists of my own categories. I mean, this isn't very extensive, but I went through some, and I even as I was going through the movies again, I realized I forgot some. But so here was my list. These are my best sequels, but then there are other categories. So don't like, don't like, you know, don't like jump down my throat until you hear all my categories. So my categories are best sequels, and then biggest jump in quality. Bleach Demon. The Hunger Tiddlywinks had some interesting world building, but the plot was thinner than broth. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, and it's such, you know what it is? Hunger Games beat you over the head with the damn concept, and it's not that hard of a concept to grasp, right? It's like, okay, all right, daddy won't let you do things. I'm really sorry about that, honey. Really sorry your daddy won't let you go do things, but Jesus. Oh, there's a world where the government is daddy won't let us do things. I'll show him because I'm an empowered woman. You know, it's like, I get it. You're going to lead the revolution. Oh, okay, revolution, revolution. Okay. Just do it. Stop talking about it. Stop, agonizing over it. Scene after scene, like, woe is me. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Well, do something about it. Stop bitching and moaning, will you? Ah. You know? And then Jennifer Lawrence's character throughout the movie she's like annoyed. Annoyed, but not in a fun way. You know, it's just like, I don't know. That movie just annoys the F out of me. It feels like so basic B science fiction, doesn't it? Basic science fiction. Like you went back in time and pretended like, I never saw the Star Trek episodes, never saw the original Star Trek. Let me write this science fiction novel. I mean, at least throw something original in there. You know, it was the Hunger Games. I don't know. I thought it would be fighting over food or something. It's ridiculous. It doesn't. It's not a good setup. It just feels so cartoony. All the villains and their ridiculous outfits and stuff. I mean, they were fun to make fun of, but my God. Who will fight for District 1? There's millions of people on the earth. I don't know. Pick one. Pick one to fight. Who the hell would watch these stupid games? At least in Running Man, it was fun, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger in Running Man was hilarious. And you could see that world because at least that one was like, it was just like chaos. It just felt like, the Running Man world just felt like chaos. Like, yeah, you could see private companies slapping this together and barely holding it together, and then some guy challenging authority. Not like Hunger Games. Like, no. It felt like, oh my God, the odds are so against you. Oh, but we overthrew our government. It's like, you didn't even really get a sense of what the hell the government was. Other than a bunch of people sitting around going, well, who are we going to sacrifice today? Like, I don't know. How about running the damn government? Sorry to get off on a rant. Stupid Hunger Games. All right. So here are my categories. Best sequels, biggest jump in quality, best trilogy, that was all one story, best franchise, biggest drop in quality, best character, which I ended up not filling up with many, sequels that never should have been, sequels that are completely different movies, kind of the same movie every time, and honorable mentions. All right. Now, again, this is not as extensive, so... Bleach Demon, perfect movies for Riff Track Mystery Science Theater. Yeah, I agree. So best sequels, I put Godfather 2, Bride of Frankenstein, The Color of Money, Maverick 2, Top Gun 2, Maverick, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and Rocky 2. And that's in order of how I would rank them. Biggest jump in quality. This is the first movie was only so good, but the quality of the second movie goes way up. Number one is Evil Dead, because you got to admit it goes from being like a nothing movie that barely holds together to like a real movie. Then Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I think that's a big jump in quality. Like the first one's overblown garbage almost. Well, boring. I shouldn't say garbage, but it's boring. And then the second one is like, man, it's like, yeah, let's go destroy the universe. Terminator 2, another big jump because you got like kind of a low budget movie and then a big Hollywood thing, right? Same thing with Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Is that what it's called? Anyhow, it is a sequel, I think, and it's just like it's in color. It's more of a real movie. It's big. The mall. I think the whole metaphor of the consumer is really good. The Dark Knight. Mostly, I picked that because of Heath Ledger, his performance. I mean, he's just tearing up the scenery in that movie. Mad Max 2, Road Warrior. It's great. Love it. Superman 2. Great. Love it. Definitely jumps up. Both of those movies, I think, jump up, especially Mad Max. Predator 2, I think, is better than 1. Not by a lot, but by a good margin. Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, is definitely better than 1. Kicks it up. And Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the second Planet of the Apes, because the first one's so unwatchable, the second one is pretty watchable. The first one with Mark Wahlberg, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Brutally bad. I wanted to, if I ever meet Tim Burton, I'm going to say, dude, what the F is your problem? I'm just going to go up to him like kind of hostile and be like, what is your problem? And he'll be like, what? What are you talking about? Planet of the Apes is what I'm talking about, dude. Planet of the Apes? Did you even see Planet of the Apes? Do you even know what it is? And they'll like, security will take me away. Hollywood Ate My Baby. A Better Tomorrow 2, John Woo, was much better than the first one as far as I remember. Is that the one with Tom Cruise going back in time? No, that's something else. A Better Tomorrow. I don't remember that one. See, I keep, there's so many. You don't realize how many sequels that, I started making this list thinking, oh, there's not that many sequels. But then you start making them, and it's like, oh my God, there's so many. So the best trilogy, all one story, I think the best is Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's kind of an unfair comparison because it is all books, but it's top tier. You just kind of can't beat it. Star Wars, the original, and Back to the Future, which I'm sure we all just went, oh yeah, Back to the Future. Back to the Future is great. It's a great three-part trilogy. I think it's all one story essentially. Hollywood Ate My Baby. No, it was Hong Kong 1. No, it was a Hong Kong one. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I saw that. Carl says, Tim Burton film, best Tim Burton film, Ed Wood. It is very good. I do love Ed Wood. Ed Wood is great. Yeah, he should not have been allowed anywhere near franchises, Tim Burton. I don't know why they kept giving it to him. People in Hollywood are out of their minds. So best franchises, I think the top one is the James Bond, Ian Fleming ones only. So if you just look at the Ian Fleming ones, I mean, all those are good. Everything outside of that, you can mostly throw away. There's a couple outliers. James Bond, I think, overall, number of movies, I think you got to say, is the top. Then, after that, I really think the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, they're very solid. They're very consistent. I would also add in, I didn't put it on the list, but probably the Dollars movies. But I haven't seen them in so long, I couldn't really throw them in. But then the Iron Man MCU movies, I would say. So basically, all the ones with Robert Downey Jr. in them, I think are great. The ones without Robert Downey Jr. are sort of hit or miss. Most of them are okay in Phase 1, except for like Dark World, which is ironically the only one I didn't see. I still haven't seen it. I've seen enough clips from it to know what it's about, but I never saw it. And I blame the failure of that movie and Thor 4 on Natalie Portman a lot. Because I can't stand Natalie Portman. I don't know why she keeps getting casted, but I think she's terrible. But Iron Man MCU, very consistent as a franchise. The Pink Panther as a franchise, I think, is very good. Peter Sellers is just amazing. And I don't think it was really meant to be a franchise. It was a very organic franchise. It kind of just starts. And they kind of go, yeah, this guy is funny. Let's do more with him, kind of thing. And that's kind of how the Pink Panther rolls. And so I highly recommend that. The Toy Story ones, very consistent. Very, very well done overall. Dirty Harry has its weak moments, but I think overall it's a pretty decent franchise. Because, you know, it is what it is. And I put the Blade franchise on there, too. Carl, not seen that many MCU films. You're not missing a lot, but the early ones are good. Bleach Demon. Natalie is aggressively mediocre. Mediocre. God, I always mispronounce that word. My brain, I always say mediocre, but I know it's mediocre. God, I gotta look away. I can't look at the word and say it correctly. God, if I see it in my head, I can't say it. Anyhow, yeah, I can't stand Natalie Portman. I think she's terrible. I don't even think she's middling. I think she's just awful. She's just the same. It's like she's the perfect hot chick to be in a movie when hot chicks do nothing, you know, just stand there and look good, the girlfriend, the wife, or whatever. But they give her movies where she's supposed to act, and she almost can never act in them, except in the Professional. But she's a little kid in that, so it's like a different metric. Arden. I'm surprised none of us mentioned the second Matrix movie before this. I actually enjoyed that, mostly for the car chase scenes. Carl, yeah, Portman is very hit or miss. Oh, yeah, this is drop-off in quality now. Drop-off in quality, number one for me is Blade Runner 2049. What an epic fail. I mean, any one of us in this room right now, in this virtual room, could have made a better Blade Runner sequel than what they put out. It's absolutely awful. It's pretty much unwatchable. Just the worst. I don't know what they were thinking. Anybody who could have watched the first one and said, okay, do a sequel to this, would have written something at least halfway decent. 2049? What? What was it even supposed to be? Ugh, brutal. And then Matrix 2 and 3. I can see why you like the car chases in 2, but it's such a drop-off. I mean, really, the big drop-off is 3. Matrix 3 to date is still the only movie that I sat in and watched people leave during the climax of the movie. During the climax, things are exploding. Trinity is dead. People are just, Bleach Demon. 2049 should have never been made. Yeah. Carl, yeah, Blade Runner 2049 was a miss for me. I don't know anybody who liked that movie, except the people who relentlessly shill for Hollywood and don't know a good movie. It's mind-boggling. You watch the first one and it's so great, and then you watch that one and just go, what? At least, and I'll say this about The Matrix, at least they tried. Like, they're terrible movies, but at least they tried to make a good movie. It doesn't even look like they tried. It looks like they were asleep at the wheel in Blade Runner 2049, where they just figured, well, Harrison Ford's in it, everybody will see it. I mean, Matrix 2 isn't the worst one, but Matrix 3 is by far. I mean, it's brutally bad. And it's a shame, because they had some concepts in there that almost could have worked, but the drop off is sheer. The first one's so perfect, right? The what that's they never should have made the damn movie. They should have stopped at one. They really should have. The first movie is just so sweet. It has a great sweet ending. Everything's going to be great now. Neo is here. He's going to smite the robots and everyone will be free. And like, you don't need to see any more. You just don't need to see any more. But they went on a rampage. And do I even mention number 4? I mean, that one was like a complete abortion, I hear. Carl, not a Matrix fan myself. Oh, the first one's great. I love the first one. I mean, in the 90s, it like blew the back of your head off. But the Crow sequels, I mean, they kind of effed up the Crow movie. For those of you who never read the comic is amazing. The movie, it's the first movie. They come close to making the comic, but not quite. They could have made it. They needed to adjust a few things to make it really close to the comic. And hopefully, I think they're remaking it again. So hopefully they'll make it correctly this time and not just turn it into another excuse to franchise The Crow. But man, they beat this concept to death and left it bleeding to death in an alley. It's like, why? Why would you do this? That was at a time when sequels weren't the thing to do anyway. It's just like, well, we got the rights to this thing. Let's make another Crow movie. And I put The Bourne Identity because when I watched the first movie, I really enjoyed it. And part of the thing I enjoyed was how Bourne becomes, falls in love with this girl who, she's just sort of a rando he runs into on his journey trying to get away from the government or whatever. And then the opening of the second movie, spoilers, is they kill her off. And it's kind of like a cheesy way. It's just cheesy the way they kill her. I just felt like that was very much like the drop-off between Aliens 2, which could be on here too. Between Aliens 2 and 3, huge drop. Oh man, off a cliff. Like the first Alien movie's great. Completely, horror movie. Second movie's an action movie. The third movie's a piece of crap, in my view. And there's a long story connected to that, which I won't go into, but look it up sometime. And it's just awful, the third Aliens movie. But that's the way it felt with the Bourne Identity to me, because in the third Aliens movie, they kill off, spoilers, the two characters she saves in the second movie. And she, it just opens with them being dead. They don't even see them, really. Rude. Very rude, Hollywood, to kill them off. Carl, the first Crow, but not read the comic. It is very good, if you get a chance to read it. Everything, and there was a million spin-off comics, too. That was kind of James O'Barr's one-hit wonder. Like, he created the Crow. He tried to do some other stuff. I met him at a convention once. We got in a bit of an argument over a table. Not really, but I ended up getting a better table. But he I don't know. I don't know if he got ripped off by Hollywood or not. I guess he did okay. Seemed like he was doing okay. Then Clerks 2. Like, that's another one. Should have stopped at one. Called it a day. I mean, we could do a whole show, I'm sure, on why Kevin Smith should have stopped making movies at some point. I mean, I did like the idea of a world of Clerks and bringing back Jay and Silent Bob. I did like Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. I think that's his best one. But Clerks 2, nah, that was just like, eh. And then Clerks 3, I don't even know why he made that. But, I mean, I know why, but I don't know. It's not my thing. And then Halloween, huge drop-off in quality, I think. The first movie's great. The second movie's really kind of just like extra scenes from the first movie. Like, oh, let's not kill him yet. You know, it's kind of a whole series that goes off the rails. And then forget about the remakes with Jamie Lee Curtis recently. I mean, talk about like milking an IP. I mean, I'm glad, I guess, John Carpenter's getting a check, but the first Halloween movie, awesome. Everything after that, I could kind of take or... I mean, the third one has some potential, but I don't know. X-Men 3. Now, there's a long story with X-Men 3. Again, I won't go into it, but a huge drop-off in quality, in my view. First two are pretty solid. I thought the second one's pretty solid. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but it's solid. Then a third one, like, what? No. That was all about a Hollywood fight behind the scenes trying to hire away Bryan Singer, which they finally succeed after 2, hiring him away to do Superman, which is why X-Men 3 kind of is nothing. Best character, the man with no name, I think, probably is the best, because he's just Clint Eastwood and he's awesome. I expected to have more names on that list, but I kind of couldn't think of any. Sequels that never should have been made. The original Planet of the Apes sequels should have stopped at 1. It's not meant to happen. And I used to watch the original TV series, too. They had a TV series called Planet of the Apes back in the 70s. And that didn't make any sense either, considering that the movies blew up the planet. But, you know, it didn't add anything. It just... It's one of those movies, it just should end at 1. It just, the way it ended, the first one ends so well, and it's like, wow, this is great. Should have never gone back to that well. Should have never gone back. Tron Legacy, another one. I liked the first Tron. I don't know if you guys liked it. The effects are old now, but back in the day, oh yeah, Tron was a lot of fun. There was no reason to go back. I mean, you could have made a decent movie going back, but I didn't think there was a lot of unanswered questions in going back to Tron. I think that was a mistake. Terrible movie, in my view. The Two Jakes, the sequel to Chinatown? What are you, out of your mind? This was a money grab, I think. Should have never made that sequel. Never made that, no. Just, Chinatown's one of the greatest movies ever. It's like, and I, you know, I hate to heap praise on Roman Polanski, but it's a really good movie. But The Two Jakes was, did you really think Jack Nicholson's a great actor. He's not a great director. He's okay. But I think this was like too much to put on him. And I read stories about the production of that. Did not sound like he was having a good time. Avatar 2, completely unnecessary, I think. I mean, but I understand why they did it. But I think that story's over too. So, and I'm sure I'm missing ones. I just thought of one and it left my head. Sequels that are completely different movies. Alien and Aliens 2, as I said, and Halloween 3. They're all different movies. They're not even, they should be completely separate movies. Unless you're doing like, I don't know, an anthology movie like Creepshow. The same kind of movie every time is Die Hard, basically, Lethal Weapon, and John Wick. There's a few probably that go into this category. Dirty Harry, Rocky, to some extent. Hollywood Ate My Baby. Kick-Ass 2 was pointless and bad. That's the one with Jim Carrey, I think, right? Is that the second one? Yeah, kind of the same. Kind of the same movie. Yeah. Honorable mentions. I put Airplane. The Airplane movies I think are pretty good. The Vacation movies are pretty good. The Road 2 movies are pretty good. We talked about. And the Boondock Saints. That's a pretty good sequel. And I'm sure I'm forgetting more. I just remembered one. Now I can't think of it. God, there's so many. Death Wish. There's one I just thought of. Yeah, probably the first one is probably the best. I don't know. I'd have to watch them again. It's been too long. They definitely started to fall apart after 2, I would say. Although 2 is probably okay. But, you know, just talking about in general what a good sequel should be, I think the bar should be it should lend itself to a sequel, right? It should be there's more story here that's unexplored. There's more territory here to explore. Naked Gun movies. They were pretty good up until I know the first 2 are good. I forget if the third one's okay or not. Yeah, they're not bad. Then they start to get ridiculous at some point. Like ridiculously like, oh my god, we're doing this again. I think with the Naked Gun movies, really they just after a while it just became Leslie Nielsen movies, right? It just like became, oh, here's another Leslie Nielsen movie where he acts like a maniac. And so there was the Naked Gun, and then was it Naked Gun 33 and a third, something like that. I don't know. I'll tell you what you should watch if you haven't watched it is Police Squad, the TV series, where I believe it was the Zucker brothers themselves that said we just couldn't keep up the pace. Like the first 4 or 5 episodes are freaking amazing, but then you could see how they're running out of gas by like the end of the 5th and 6th one. It's like it's starting to run out of gas because it's like they've jammed in so many jokes in that first 3 or 4. You're just laughing the entire episode. They're really good. They're kind of like you know the old saying, the candle that burns twice as long burns half as long, or no, burns twice as bright burns half as long. So yeah. The same thing with Airplane movies. There was, I guess it was also too, they didn't want to make a third Airplane movie for a lot of different reasons, but one of them was, you know, how are we going to come up with new bits? Carl, yeah, the TV series, yeah. It's really good if you get a chance to rent it. I think with comedy, comedy's tough, man. It is tough. Especially when you're doing it like that. There were some good stuff. Yeah, we need some comedies. We really do. The problem with sequels, though, and comedy's all about surprise, and a sequel already takes the punch out of so much. The only way you can do a sequel, I think, you know, and really make it good is you really got to go off the rails further than you did before. I think you can do one sequel pretty easily because you basically just do the same thing you do in the first movie except heighten everything, right? Everything you did in the first movie is 10 times crazier. But then when you get to the third sequel, if you're going to do a third sequel, you really have to go crazy where you have to change up everything. And I think the problem with doing it as comedy, you can really up the ante too soon. You up it too soon, you have nowhere to go. Bleach Demon, a bit off topic, but I really wish Daniel Day-Lewis had done a sequel to The Last of the Mohicans, since Fenimore Cooper had written 5 novels in total. Yeah. See, that's another reason, too, if there's a lot of books, you know, like James Bond. There was a reason to do more Bond movies. There were more adventures, you know. Hollywood Ate My Baby. Bill and Ted had a decent sequel. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but they were at least trying new things, I'll say. I'll give them credit for trying to make it work. The third one looked woke as F. And I just was, oh, God, no. I'm not gonna watch this. It's gonna be cringe. There's your drop off in quality, your comedy quality. The Last of the Mohicans had too much of a cheesy romance for me, but Lewis is great. No matter what may occur, I will find you. You know what had a huge drop off in quality? Caddyshack. Talk about a sequel that never should have been made. I mean, the original Caddyshack's a classic for me. But the sequel? Oof. Oof. There's a reason Bill Murray didn't do that sequel. Yeesh. I don't know why you would do a sequel to Caddyshack. Hollywood Ate My Baby? Yeah, third one was awful. Bill and Ted, yeah. Yeah, it looked awful. It's a shame. I think that suffered from lack of comedy. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's no good comedy writers right now. You're going to have a comedy, man. You have to absolutely 100% have a stand-up guy in it who is good. Right? So the only guys I would trust to do a comedy would be Dave Chappelle, maybe Kevin Hart on a good day with the wind behind his back. He can be funny. And maybe there's a handful of other comics, a couple others, but there's so few and far between now, and so many of them have sold out or just are afraid to do anything. And some of them just aren't any good. Like Dane Cook didn't seem to translate well in the movies at all. But I always thought his comedy was it was only good live. He was okay as a live comic. I think mostly because women loved him because he was handsome and they just would giggle at whatever he would do because he was just good looking. Kind of like if Amber Heard had started a stand-up career. But his comedy wasn't really good. You know? Not like, say, Steve Martin. Steve Martin was... He did some great comedy movies. And, the Blues Brothers sequel. Yeah, that was awful. That was GD awful. Yeah, Blues Brothers 2000, says Carl. Yeah, that is not a good movie. And the first one's so good. It's one of my favorite movies of all time is the Blues Brothers. I could watch that movie almost any time. Animal House was a great movie, too. They sort of had a sequel with a TV show called Delta House, which was... the premise was... because John Belushi couldn't be in it. I don't know if he was dead then, but he was definitely too big of a star to do TV at that time. And then, so they got some of the original cast, I think. They recasted some. They definitely recasted. So the premise of the show was it was still Delta House, but Bluto's brother was now going to school instead of Bluto. Bluto got drafted into the army, and so it was Bluto's brother. If you haven't seen Animal House, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but it was a funny attempt. It wasn't a great show, but it was a funny attempt to try to do a sequel to a movie that they kind of couldn't do a sequel to, because the movie was insanely popular at the time. When I was a kid, Animal House was like the S. We talked about Animal House. We couldn't even go see it, but we quoted it all the damn time. We were too young to go see it in the theaters because it was R-rated and came out in 1980. So we couldn't see it until years later. But we knew every scene. Friends of mine had snuck into movies just to go see it. But, I don't think they ever... Did they do a sequel? They might have done a sequel. Oh, I'll tell you a sequel that I really enjoyed. The sequel to A Christmas Story, A Christmas Story Christmas, was very good. They actually did a bunch of sequels to A Christmas Story that went nowhere. They did something called Ardent. Agreed. Blues Brothers 2000 wasn't the same without Belushi. Oh, yeah. Well, and John Goodman didn't really add anything. Oh, I'll tell you another sequel I forgot all about. The Hangover. Hangover 1, great movie. I couldn't even watch the third one. The second one is like, what the hell is happening? Big drop off. Big drop off. And I blame that movie on Zach Galifianakis, the sequels. Because in the first movie, Zach's character's great because you feel bad for him because he's kind of a loser and he admires Bradley Cooper and he wants to be his friend, and Bradley Cooper is way too cool for him, but he kind of tolerates him because he sort of has to, and then all this stuff happens. And so by the end of the movie, it's like there's this moment where like he's still got this bromance going on with Bradley Cooper, right? And he's sort of subservient to Bradley Cooper, and that's a great dynamic. In the second movie, that just goes away. It just absolutely goes away because Zach Galifianakis just kind of, his character suddenly becomes an obnoxious a-hole. Way worse. Like, he was very likable in the first movie. In the second movie, I hate him. And it ruins the whole movie for me. And I blame that on Zach Galifianakis trying to do his meta comedy in the middle of the movie. Big mistake. And then the third movie is just like, bleh. Should have... You gotta make characters likable, damn it. You gotta make them likable. Or why the hell go see the damn movie? You know, you gotta go out of your way to make characters likable. You can't have them do terrible things and expect the audience still to like them. Zach Galifianakis accidentally beheads a giraffe in the movie. And you could argue, oh, that's kind of a funny bit, right? Like, because he doesn't mean to do it. But it's kind of an awful thing, and the reason behind it is so stupid and dumb. It's like, how can you be that stupid? So you got to make characters likable. So in a sequel, there has to be more story to tell. In The Hangover, you could potentially have upped the ante some way. I think you would have had to have gotten somebody married in that friend group that would have made sense. If you were going to do a novelization of the Hangover movies, I know I'm going off on The Hangover, but it makes me mad. The first book would be great, right? The second book, what would it be about? Well, Phil, the character Phil, who's barely in the first movie because, spoilers, he spends the whole time on the roof of a casino where they can't find him. He would be like a main character in the second book, right? Because his character was in that friend group. It's just that in that movie, in that story, he's out of it for the whole story, basically. So you would put him back in there. But because the way Hollywood works, because that actor was hired to play Phil because he's barely in the movie, and Bradley Cooper is a huge, huge star, what are they going to do? Well, Bradley Cooper has to be all over the movie. Zach Galifianakis, a big star at the time, has to be all over the movie again. And Ed Helms, same thing. So you end up with basically the same movie, not because of necessarily the creative choices, but because the studio says, well, you got to do the same damn thing you did in the last movie, right? And this is exactly why Carl sent me this comment to begin with. You got to do the same damn thing you did in the first movie. We got to see these guys. We're paying all this money. So you couldn't do a movie where, for instance, in The Hangover 2, the same thing happens again, only this time Bradley Cooper disappears, right? You couldn't have that movie because the studio would be like, wait a minute, you're not going to put Bradley Cooper in the movie? Yeah, that would be the creative choice, right? Or Ed Helms or Zach Galifianakis. One of those guys this time disappears, and this time Phil has to step up. And we get to see the dynamic between Phil and the other two remaining guys, whatever that is. And maybe it's Zach Galifianakis comes into his own and it's like, we have to save Bradley Cooper, or, and he becomes a completely changed man, and Phil has to deal with that, however he deals with stuff. But see, all that's new territory, and that's what you do as a writer writing a novel. You forge ahead with new territory, but not in Hollywood. In Hollywood, they make a can of peas. They make product. So they got to make this movie sell. And you got to sell it just to get it greenlit, and then you got to sell it to the audience. And so the selling takes over everything. And that's why you get many of the movies we've talked about today. They're just the same damn thing over and over again. You won't go into a different direction because it's impossible. Even when you do go into a different direction, it's kind of the same thing. So like Die Hard 1 and 2, they're kind of the same movie. One's in a building, one's in an airport. The airport makes it very different, or different enough, I guess, to heighten a lot of different things, but, you know, it's still basically the same. Carl, going back to Natalie Portman, has anyone seen the movie where her character is really the Antichrist? Is it any good? I haven't seen it. No, because Natalie Portman's... she's the Antichrist? Which one is that? Let's see. To the IMDb. Don't remember that movie. Natalie Portman. There she is. Okay. Where she's the Antichrist. This is a recent movie, you say. Lucy in the Sky. Vox Lux. Death and Life of John F. Donovan. Annihilation. It's not that one. That's a sci-fi movie. I don't know. Is this a new movie or an old movie? Bleach Demon. Wasn't that movie Phantom Menace? Yeah, she was the Antichrist of Star Wars. A Tale of Love and Darkness? There's a lot of Dior movies on this. God, she was in Mr. Magorium's Wonderful Emporium. What a terrible, terrible title. Ugh. Yeah, I don't see it. Unless they have devil in the title. See, like Zoolander. I could see her being in Zoolander because then at least you could make fun of her. Oh, she was in Mars Attacks. Carl, she plays a pop star in it. And she's the Antichrist. I don't know. Hersher? Is that it? No, that doesn't look like she's the main character. Jackie? No, Jackie Kennedy she plays. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that one. It's weird. Vox Lux, maybe. Is that it? Looks kind of demonic. Is that it? I think that's it, right? Oh, shit. Sorry. Keep clicking the wrong thing. Yeah, this looks like it. An unusual set of circumstances brings unexpected success to a pop star. Vox Lux. Yeah, I think that's it, Bleach, damn it. This is it. No, I haven't seen this movie. Who else is in it? Jude Law. Jude Law had a pretty good record of movies for a short time, and now, like, now it's just like, yeah, very hit or miss. Carl, yeah, it could be Vox Lux. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know anybody else other than her and Jude Law in this. Brady Corbett, who also co-wrote it or co-created the story. Story. It just says story. Doesn't even have a screenplay credit. That's not a good sign. I don't know. I don't know much about it. 2018. I don't know. Maybe. If she's the bad guy, maybe I would enjoy that. Yeah, so sequels, I think, gotta be more story to tell. They gotta be different from the first movie. But not so much that it's completely alien, pardon the pun. pun. Although Aliens is a good example, I think. You've got the first movie, which is a horror movie. It's very claustrophobic. Um, it's got a different pacing, a different tone. And then you have the second movie. It's more of an action movie. It's exciting. But they're fighting the same foe. I don't know how you could have topped that in their defense. You might have gone back to something in the third movie, and which I think they kind of tried to do in Aliens 3, but God, what a disaster that was. And then they just kept making alien movies until people started screaming. Carl, Jude Law movie called The Wisdom of the Crocodiles is okay. It's kind of a vampire movie. Jude Law. I liked him in the Sherlock Holmes movies. I think he's good in that. I don't know about Fantastic Beast. He looks okay in that. He's in Toast of London? I don't remember him in Toast of London. Maybe he had a voice thing. Maybe he had a cameo. Grand Budapest Hotel. I vaguely remember him. Dom Hemingway looked good. He was in that. Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad actor. He's really good, but I don't know, some of his choices I just go, what? Why is he in this? But, you know, you got to get what you can get, I guess. He was in Captain Marvel. Yeah, Captain Marvel. Ugh. He does not have a good role in Captain Marvel. It's kind of not his fault. But that is such an awful movie. The first third of it's okay, but then it's just like, what the F is this? But let's not get into the Captain Marvel thing, or we'll be here God knows how long. Carl, he's good in Sherlock Holmes movies. Yeah, I think he's a good Watson. You know, he seems to be into the role too. You know, he seems to be excited to be there, as opposed to some of these actors. They get into a role and you just wonder, did you even want to do this? Hollywood Ate My Baby. I just remembered Escape from L.A. Yes. Which one is? Wow. It is better made. The second one. They're both pretty good. They're both. I guess I gotta give the edge to Escape from L.A. They're both pretty good. Although there is a ridiculous scene to it in one moment where they surf. But other than that, it is a pretty good movie. It does have a bigger ending. I would have liked to have seen a third movie with Snake Plissken, but probably too late now. Although, you never know with Kurt Russell. He is like... I could see him doing a third movie where maybe they introduce a... That to me was a good post-apocalyptic movie. Yeah. Really enjoyed the first and second one of that. And they're both solid. Carl says, Escape from L.A., same ending as Last Jedi? Well, I didn't see The Last Jedi, so I'm not sure the ending. Oh, because of the hologram thing? Yeah, I guess. Bleach Demon, they remade Alfie. How can Michael Caine be replaced? Well, the answer is he can't. Was this a remake? Or was this a movie about the making of Alfie? I think it was a remake. A Cockney womanizer learns the hard way about the dangers of his actions. Yeah, probably just a sexier version of Alfie. So, I think I vaguely remember. What was he doing? I think he was doing Michael Caine in the movie, right? He was doing like an impersonation of Michael Caine. Bleach Demon, Escape from Chicago? That would be extremely dangerous. I'm not sure what you could do, because Escape from LA ends with Snake Plissken basically destroying America, or what's left of the American government, because they're such a-holes. But you probably could write a story where Snake ends up in Chicago and then has to escape that for some reason. Arden, sequel to Three Amigos, yes or no? I don't know, man. Those guys are all old. And comedy is a young man's game. I've always said it. Being a comedy writer, it's not always a happy reality, but it's true. I don't know what you could do and make that good. Because I think Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy... The only one who still has his edge is Chevy Chase. I don't even think they want to... And almost nobody wants to work with him anymore, I think. Which is a shame, because I think... And I don't agree with all his creative choices at all, but gotta hand it to the old guy. He don't give an F. Chevy Chase does not give an F. And that's what I kind of like about him, but he's always been that way. He's always been an a-hole. I mean, he's done some stuff. Read the Saturday Night Live book about Chevy Chase. He's a GD maniac. He really is. But when you look at his work, and they were talking about this on Louder with Crowder, he just doesn't care. He will go for it. So I think Chevy would be great in it. I don't know if Steve Martin and Martin Short would go along with it, because they've both sort of softened their image. Now they're doing, what is it, Only Deaths in the Building, that new TV show. They've kind of... I mean, the worst thing for Steve Martin was when he tried to do Peter Sellers and tried to redo Pink Panther. I was just like, oh no, please no, God, no. Martin Short kind of held out almost as long as Chevy. Didn't really... when you talk about compromising your craft, I think you could say Chevy Chase really didn't compromise his craft. And I think you could almost say the same thing about Martin Short. I'd have to think about it a while, but probably he's... Martin Short's... He's a scrapper too. He's still pretty out there. Steve Martin, I think, kind of started to... I don't know. LA Story was really a disappointment for me. There's some amazing moments in it, but after that, like, his career kind of like... I don't know. People get older and they just kind of lose it. I don't know if he's lost it or he just doesn't want to do it anymore. I kind of like Steve Martin better now that he's sort of semi-retired. Like when he was playing banjo during the pandemic, I thought he's the only celebrity I like now. Because all he's doing is, I'll just play banjo for everybody. He didn't try to make a big statement or anything. I don't know. Three Amigos. I would love to see it. I would love for it to be good. I don't think it could ever happen. I don't think it could be good, but I don't know, man. Boy, that was a tough question. Escape from freaking Portland, says Arden. Ooh, that would be a good one. Oh, if Snake Plissken was going to kill Antifa, yeah, sign me up. I'm all over it. Escape from Portland would be amazing if they did it that way, which they'll never do. Kurt Russell might be up for it. He's kind of based. But I don't know. Hollywood would never greenlight it. Carl, I've heard that there is a remake of Escape from New York coming. Unnecessary, I think. The first one's great. I mean, now, the only thing about now is now you can see Escape from New York happening, right? You can kind of see where New York's going. The thing that was cool about the first one was they had New York things in it because New York was still something. Now it's nothing. I don't know how anybody's going to relate if they keep the same characters, because there's a character in it that played by Ernest Borgnine who's like a cabbie who still survived, and he drives a yellow cab. I don't know if people are even going to relate to that character now. They're kind of all Ubered all over New York, so I don't know. Arden says, at Bleach Demon, Escape from Melbourne. Arden, FFS, Escape from Canada. Yes. Bleach Demon. LOL. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know what you could do with the escape. Escape from the USA. Maybe you'd have to do that. Um, and maybe that's how you could pitch it to the lefties. You could say, "Oh, America's gotten so bad now. Snake Plissken wants to leave before all of the like Snake Plissken has to escape the United States with I don't know some girl who's like the cure for some disease, and the evil United States government wants to keep the cure for themselves, but they're going to kill her, number one, and number two, they're going to extort the other countries, and you know, so Snake is going to get the woman across the border and cure the world or whatever, and he has to do it. But see, they would try to hammer in the trope of, oh, we got to inject you with this thing, and that would be stupid to do that a third time, I think. Ardent, escape to the USA for the rest of us. Yeah, it's. Well, I mean, now that we finally locked up Congress, you know, or slowed things down, things should start getting better here. Carl, the UK isn't much better either. Escape from the UK might work because it is an island, and the first movie, you know, part of the premise is it is on an island. Like Escape from LA, I think in the second movie, the earthquake puts it on an island. Yeah, yeah, because he does the underwater thing to get there. So I think island is an important sort of factor. So maybe you have to do Escape from the UK. Like, I don't know what the mission would be, though. You'd have to come up with the mission. Like, he has to save the king. Like, yeah, Snake Plissken has to save the King of England so they can, I don't know, take back the UK and reinstall him as the king. I could see that. Or maybe it's like a King Arthur thing. Snake Plissken and King Arthur. Yeah, I could see that. God, you see, all the sequels I forgot. There's just so many of them. You could be here for hours. And we have been. What time is it? Oh, it's 2 hours. I'm going to have to start to wrap this. Yeah. So, yeah, Snake Plissken. See, also, too, the character has to lend itself to further adventures, right? James Bond, Snake Plissken, the Addams Family, to a certain extent. There's another group of sequels. You know, they lend themselves, Indiana Jones, they lend themselves to further stories. It's inherent from the first moment you see them, that this character has adventures or stories, or he's an agent, or he does things. This character does have further adventures, whether you see them or not. I'll tell you another well, it did become a franchise, but it could have. Buckaroo Banzai, right? And they talked about this for years. There's several books, I think, and Buckaroo Banzai clearly was going to be a franchise, but it did work out for various reasons. But that's not why Hollywood makes a franchise or a sequel. Ardent, Big Trouble in Little China could have used a sequel. I would love a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China, only if it's good. It would break my heart if it was bad. Another one of my favorite movies. Love me some Big Trouble in Little China. I could quote that movie all day long. Carl agrees. Big Trouble in Little China. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And Kim Cattrall's still around. Kurt Russell's still around. Oh, boy, you could do a good movie. I would love that. You could do it, you know, Kim Cattrall and Kurt Russell are a couple, and they go back to Chinatown for some reason. Oh, it'd be great. God, I just keep thinking about that. And that, yeah, I would say Jack Burton lends himself to other stories because of the way he positioned himself, right? You know, he's a trucker, he moves around, he's all full of himself. Ardent, technically, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon has a sequel, and it's not too bad. Yeah, a lot of a lot of the martial art movies, they have tons of sequels, right? And they're designed to be that way too, because a lot of times it's the Edo period or just after the Edo period, and it's like Traveling Samurai or Traveling Warrior. I don't remember. It's too long ago. It was a good movie though, or was that a prequel? Arden asked. Might have been a sequel or prequel. I don't remember. God, so many movies. Yeah, like I said, excellent topic today, Carl. Excellent topic. Yeah, I mean, even more so than the best movies of 2022, which was last week. You know, this just like it's endless the amount of sequels there really are. And again, when I started doing this, I thought it's not that many sequels, but there really are just a ton of them, right? It just looks like, unfortunately, anytime Hollywood says, "Oh, we can make more money," boom, sequel happens. And to some extent, I can't blame them because it is very hard to put people together, make a movie. You know, in the case of like Keanu Reeves, right? He's still very popular. People love him. They're desperate for any kind of star power that works. I think he still has some. So that's really why you got 4 John Wick movies. That's why you got a third sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's because Keanu's, time hit again, and boom, they're making sequels out the yin yang. It's a lot of reason why William Shatner ended up going back and making all the Star Trek movies and a bunch of other movies. Like, he just came back in vogue. Like, his career kind of went down for a while, but then he came back. And Ardent, the Sho Kosugi Ninja movies, American Ninja, etc., all decent sequels to those in the series. Carl says thanks. Ardent, yeah, good call, Carl. Bleach Demon, the Godzilla franchise could be on the list. Yeah, it could. The original one, I think, probably the best. Just because it has that kind of new sheen on it. Whereas all the other ones are like trying to rediscover that, and they never can quite do that. And yeah, like the Godzilla movies are kind of a product of their era. They're just in that window of time where it's like it's after World War II. People know about radiation and nuclear stuff, but they don't know enough about it. Same thing with like the origin of the X-Men. It's like, oh yeah, radiation, it'll give you superpowers and it'll do crazy things because we don't know what this will do in the long term. And now, like, everybody knows, well, that'll just give you cancer. So it's like, it doesn't quite feel as real, the whole, like, radiation bit. And so it really is sort of a movie of its time, and they keep remaking it, but monster movies, like, they're long past their expiration date, right? It's like, how many times are you going to go back to that well? And I gotta say though, the Kong movies some of the remakes were halfway decent, watchable. I hear the last King Kong versus Godzilla movie was pretty decent. A lot of people liked it, but it's like, I don't know how many times you can watch this stuff. It's like, let's get on to something new. Let's get on to something new. But Hollywood doesn't really do new. It just kind of wallows in the old until the new thing emerges. And Bleach Demon, Cancer Man just doesn't seem quite as exciting as this series of comics. Yeah. LOL. Says Carl. Yeah, I mean, it's like this stupid Last of Us series that's coming out. Is this it? That's not it. How did we get to this? The Last of Us series is coming out. Ardent. LOL Skin Slaughter and Tumor Kid. The Last of Us is coming out, and Variety's doing article after article about how it's going to revive the zombie genre. And it's just like, there's no way that's happening with Last of Us. They'll be lucky if this thing doesn't lose them money because of what happened, the absolute disaster that was the launch of the last video game. It's like these people just ignore that and go ahead. Oh, we got this IP. Let's pretend like it has no dirt on it. Let's pretend like everybody still loves it. I you know, it's one thing that, like, okay, something made money, now we're gonna exploit it for all it's worth. Like the Mayfair Witches. That's what's her face, Anne Rice's witch books. Like, I understand why you're doing that. Anne Rice was super popular. The vampire movies made a ton of money. Oh, you're going to do Mayfair Witches. Okay. So in that Anne Rice world, you probably throw some vampires in there. Perfect. Makes perfect sense. Why do Last of Us? Oh, just because people know it? Yeah, they know it. They know know the first one's good, and then they know they screwed up the second one, I think. Ardent revived the zombie genre. When did it die? Last friggin' week? Well, I think The Walking Dead has beat it to death, so to speak. You know, it's like it's barely off the radar. You know, I mean, we've got enough reruns of The Walking Dead. You could literally watch that show for how many years? You know, if you watched an episode a day, how many episodes would you watch? How long would it take you to watch the whole damn series plus the spin-off series? Probably take you, let's say, how many episodes? There's 10. Probably take you almost half a year. Almost half a year to watch one a day. That's pretty crazy, the amount of material for The Walking Dead. And you're going to revive the zombie genre. What? Because, oh, these zombies, they're made out of mold. So what? I don't care. And they spend the entire trailer basically hiding it. And it's like, okay, you don't want to show me it. Fine. I'll just go online and find a picture of it from the video game or some other nerd who dug it up online. It's just, you know, it just doesn't have good buzz. And these people just, they put too much money in it and they ignore the buzz. And I'll tell you, Oscar Isaacs doesn't help the situation either, because the whole problem is it's going to be freaking woke as F. Don't kid yourself about The Last of Us. From what I hear, it's going to be woke as F. They told the lead girl, who's a great actress from Game of Thrones, hey, don't watch, don't play the video game. Like, they gave her that instruction, and she actually said that in an interview. Like, how awful is this TV show going to be? I think it's going to be awful. Carl, never seen The Walking Dead. I wouldn't waste your time. The best season's the first season, and I've never seen a first season of a show that ends as badly as The Walking Dead. Like, the last episode of the show is like, what the F is all this? Bleach Demon, as far as a genre, I would like to see a well done, so it won't happen, telling of the Arthurian legends. Yeah, that would be fun. I'll tell you what would be a great comic to license and maybe do a mini series would be Camelot 3000 would be fun. If you've never read that comic, it's pretty awesome. It's like a retelling of Arthur being resurrected in the year 3000, and yeah, that would be good. Or a mini series about Arthur, or you know, even another movie like Excalibur. I mean, John Borman's Excalibur is pretty damn good. They did The Green Knight not too long ago. That movie kind of came and went. I kind of was psyched to see that movie. It was, what's the name? Patel was the lead. But it looked good. I gotta say. Bleach Demon, I'd watch that. Yeah, Camelot 3000, baby. It would be great. But will they do it? I don't know. You know, these things depend on so much. You know, when you look at the Guy Ritchie King Arthur, I'm a huge fan of Guy Ritchie. I love his direction. And Charlie Hunnam wasn't the worst casting choice, but I hear that's a pretty unwatchable movie. Ardent, Camelot 3000, is that the one with the Atomic Age Knights riding dogs? No, this is it's a comic book, and it's basically the knights coming back in the future. I don't think they're riding dogs in it. I don't remember that. But yeah, it's a great sort of retelling. Carl saw the Green Knight. It was okayish. It looked good. Bleach Demon. I have a lot of problems with A24 movies. They just come across as too modern in script and cast. I like that they're at least trying. They seem to be trying different things. They make different kinds of movies. You know, a lot of them are grounded, but I think you're right. I feel like a lot of them are too grounded. They're a little too grungy, a little too, you know, not fun. I think they need to have more fun with their movies. I wish they'd start doing comedies, but I don't think there's any. They don't see it as money right now. There's gonna be at some point some crazy person will make a breakout comedy that'll make, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of money, and then it'll be off to the races. We'll be back in the comedy world, and then maybe I could get a gig again. Although I do have a gig right now, and so I'm working on a screenplay. I can't talk about it, but it's a drama, so it's got some light moments in it, and it's fun. It's been fun to write so far. I literally just started. I'm only about 9 pages in, so but it's yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I think they're good for certain movies, like that window of movie, not big enough for Hollywood, but a decent sized movie, like right in that indie movie window for like dramas and the occasional horror movie. Although I think a production company like that tends to be a little too serious with some of their stuff, and horror you should maybe loosen up a bit. You know, depending. Like, I really enjoyed this Netflix movie, The Pale Blue Eye. See my review on it, but I think it was really good. And that had a lot of good stuff in it, and it wasn't totally dreary, although a lot of it was. But it was dreary in a very consistent way. It wasn't just dreary to be dreary. There was a reason why it was dreary. Everything had a reason in that movie, which I really enjoyed. Did A24 do the X Pearl and Triple X movie that's coming out, or the Hollywood XXX? I think they do that too, right? With Mia Goth. Because I enjoyed that they did that with an indie movie. I thought that was kind of an interesting. At least it was interesting. It was a little different, kind of the same but different. So, yeah, I that is an interesting. I didn't see them, so I can't really say. I've seen enough clips of it. I'm still intrigued. It's still on my list of things to see. But it's X. Takes place in the 70s, I think. Mia Goth, Bleach Demon. Yes, they did. Mia Goth plays. I think she's a porn star in it, and they're shooting a porn at this abandoned farm, but it's not abandoned. And then all these horrible murders happen, right? And then one of the characters who are committing the murders is this crazy old woman named Pearl. The second movie stars Mia Goth as Pearl, as a young woman who's out of her mind, crazy, and then it's basically the prequel to X and how Pearl became a crazy murderer, and I guess how she survives into the 70s. And now the third movie, I'm not sure what the third movie's about, but it's Mia Goth's character from the first movie going to Hollywood and I guess being in porn and then murdering people. Carl, maybe a topic for another live stream could be the reimagined reboot movies. Yeah, I hate them. It might be a very short one, but we could list them and I could talk about how much I hate them all. Pretty much hate them all. I mean, Fury Road, if you count that as a reboot, and I kind of do, that's probably, I guess, the best one of the lot, but man, there's a lot of them that I just friggin' hate. Maybe. Yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. Carl's got some good suggestions. Yeah, good suggestions, Carl. Good themes. I like to get suggestions from the audience. Carl says thanks. Yeah, I'll think about that. Yeah, I got stuff to do next weekend, but I should have time to research. That one, it shouldn't take as long to research. The hardest thing about that will be to find the old reboots. I don't think there are many old reboots, but I'm sure there's like one or two I'm not thinking of. I don't think there are as many reboots as there are sequels. That's for sure. Although I didn't realize how many sequels there were. I mean, there's just so many of them. And even as we sit here, we keep talking about it. We keep coming up with new ones. So it's just funny. I thought I would, you used to be able to click on the internet for the one thing you were looking for. So when I typed in, best movie sequels, I figured I would find a list of 300 movies, every sequel that has ever been made and ranked, but couldn't find it. Emoji, says Carl. All right, I got to wrap up because I'm about to pee my pants, and I'm not going to do that live. I don't care how much you tip me. Well, if you tip me enough. No, it's not that kind of stream. It's another kind of stream. Ha! All right, so final thoughts on the trailers, on the sequels. I prefer sequels better than prequels. Numero uno. I don't think they're a bad thing to do. I think they're only bad if they're unrequired, I think it's bad when they do a sequel like The Matrix, like, a bunch of them. A bunch of them that just were totally unnecessary, that you just don't need to do. Bleach Demon, Shop Around the Corner was remade as In the Good Old Summertime. Carl, it could include things that you'd like to see reimagined. But see, I don't know. I don't think... there's almost none I would redo. Maybe Buckaroo Banzai, only because I think that concept had potential. But is it really a reboot when you take, a movie like Buckaroo Banzai and just make it like the book, right? Is it really a reimagining? It's more of like an actual imagining, It's more of like the first movie was a reimagining, and that's why it failed. And the second one is more like true to the source. Although I will say, here's one I do like. I like... later, Carl. Thanks for coming in. Reacher. Yeah, the Reacher TV series is better than the Tom Cruise movies. Because Tom Cruise is totally miscast as Reacher. So, yeah, okay. So I did find one I like. All right. Gonna wrap it here. Thanks for tuning in. This is Tony D saying thank you all. Check out all the other videos. Check out my books. And I will see you next week in the live stream. And all week on YouTube and many other platforms. All right. Good night, everybody.